We give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ha, Rakha, Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, spreading the good news of the gospel, teaching its truth throughout the earth, and who rule well. Salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing the word to the four corners of the earth in all sincerity and risking their life to do so.
Khan Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel, Wa Abba Babal. All right, so we're going to start with, let's see, it's Proverbs 28 and verse 4. All right, in fact, grab Revelation 12.
Revelation
14:12.
Revelation 14:12?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in fact, we'll start at 9. But let me grab this here. This is Proverbs 28, verse 4. I came across this one, which I've read over the book of Proverbs multiple times, but it's like a movie. When you listen or read these scriptures, there's always new jewels in there, all right, of revelation. So it says in Proverbs 28, verse 4, in the NLT, it says, to reject the law is to praise the wicked. To obey the law is to fight them. All right, so I'm going to read that again. Proverbs 28 and 4 NLT, it says, to reject the law is to praise the wicked. To obey the law is to fight them. All right. So that's what the Israelites are supposed to do in these last days. All right. Is to remember the law of Moses, which was given to Moses to give to the Israelites in Horeb, as we've been commanded in Malachi 4. All right. Because we're in the last days. We're at the end of the Edomites' wicked kingdom, all right, their wicked reign. It says in Malachi 4 verse 1, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. America's going to lose World War III, which is going to be a nuclear war. And all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Yahweh of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch, which America will be destroyed, the kingdom of Edom. It will lose World War III, nuclear war, and Edom will be made extinct after a period of time in slavery under the Israelites. But unto you that fear my name, talking about the Israelites, that fear the name of Yahweh and his son Yahushai with reverence, shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, which he's going to save us. Right now we have the Comforter, the Holy Spirit. All right. And ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall, which will inherit the earth with new bodies. And we will, as it says, sing in our bed, rejoicing. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith Yahweh of hosts. Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments, because it's prophecy, it's history and prophecy. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahweh, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the sons, and the heart of the sons to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse, which Yahweh is going to send Yahushai back on a chariot. All right, that's Zechariah 5. It says, then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll, which you know as a so-called UFO. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth For every one that stealeth shall be cut off, as on this side according to it, which Esau stole our land, stole us, and has us in slavery. All right. So that's why the curse is going to enter the house of the thief, which is America. All right. Yahweh is going to send Yahweh Shai, and Yahweh Shai is coming back with the host of heaven. And if you look up, you'll see the host of heaven already in the atmosphere. All right. Because they're already here. It says, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. Which, if they don't get salvation, the 2/3, right? We know for sure they're not going to get salvation. All right. They're going to be cut off. They're going to be left here. But the ones that are saved are going to be taken. And in that change, we're going to be given new bodies in the blink of an eye. All right. And delivered and then given the authority to rule over the heathen on earth and throughout the universe. All right. Now, the 2/3 are going to take the implantable microchip because they're going to break the commandment and praise the wicked. That's why they're going to be destroyed, as it said in the first verse I read, Proverbs 28:4. They that forsake the law praise the wicked. So that's what that chip is going to be. You accepting that? That's going to be you praising the wicked if you accept it. And you're going to be destroyed in that unfaithfulness. All right. But such as keep the law with the understanding of Yahweh's Son, Yahweh Shai, contend with them. In the NLT, it's fights with them. So that's what they're trying to do, is make you break the Lord's law. You're not supposed to have no other God but Yahweh. And we've been brought back and reconciled through his son Yahweh Shai as Israelites. But this devil, the so-called white man, he's trying to make you have an implantable microchip. All right? Go ahead, Jacob.
Con. Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here they that are here.
Oh no, start at 9.
Verse 9?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go to verse 9 then. Okay, start that up again. Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand. Verse 10. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of power Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb.
So you're going to get destroyed in your unfaithfulness. You're going to get caught up in the loss of World War III in America. America is going to be destroyed by nuclear fire, turned into a lake of nuclear fire. And if you accept that MOTB, the implantable microchip, you're going to actually be left here to suffer that nuclear destruction with the heathen, which is ordained 2/3 of the nation of Israel will be left here. 1/3 will be saved, starting with the elect, and that's because they'll be ordained to praise the holy name of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. That's why he's going to do it, for his holy name's sake. All right? Go ahead.
Revelation 14, verse 11, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up for ever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night.
The destruction, America is going to be destroyed forever. It's going to smoke for a long time and then be a desert forever as a memorial. But now, as it says, they get no rest day or night. That's going into them having the chip. When they accept that chip, it tells you in Revelation 16 that they're going to break out with a grievous sore. All right, they're going to get a cancer from it. All right, and it's going to destroy their body, so they're not going to be able to rest day nor night because they're tormented while they have this device in their body, whether it's in their forehead or their hand. Watch the movie Implanted. All right? They're going to be in the brain of these people fucking tormenting them. They're going to be able to control the body. That's why they did the jabs. They said what was in those nanotechnology, it's all going to be linked up with that chip. And the AI is going to be controlling you and having you do the will of Esau. All right? Which is an abomination. So you're going to be part of the system integrated by the implantable microchip. So that's why you'll be condemned if you accept it. All right? Go ahead.
Night, who worship the beast and his image.
See that you worship his beast. The beast is the system, his image. The beast is the so-called white man. And the beast system, you got to have that chip to operate soon. So if you take that and worshiping the beast and his image, you're going to be condemned. Go ahead.
Comment. And whosoever receiveth the mark of his name,
which is the implantable microchip. The number and his name are going to be inside that chip. All right? Go ahead.
Revelation 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of power and the faith of Yahushua.
Right. So the commandments are the word of Yahweh, and it speaks of Yahushua, whether it's Old Testament, New Testament, Apocrypha. It all speaks about how Yahweh delivers us through Yahushua. All right. In the past, you had history. Now we're living through the prophecy, which is soon to be history, and us being in the land is going to come to pass. Yahweh is going to send Yahushua back to take us back into that land. That's the spirit that we're in. We're New Jerusalem. Now, we haven't got our new bodies yet, but we have citizenship through Yahweh's Son, Yahushua. Go ahead.
Revelation 14, verse 13. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord power from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them.
Right, so if we die in this work, teaching the word of Yahweh, speaking about Yahushua, our faith in Yahushua, if we die, we spoke about that at camp yesterday. We still have life. All right, you have resurrection through Yahushua, which the first shall be raised that are dead, and then them that are alive shall be changed. All right, which them that are dead are already with Yahushua. It tells you that in the scriptures. All right, and they're going to come with Yahushua when he comes back. Go to Revelation 13 and 9. I got this Proverbs 1, and I'm going to read it in the NLT. It says, these are the Proverbs of Solomon, David's son, king of Israel. So King David had a son, and his name was Solomon, which he became the king of Israel, the wisest man on earth, the richest man on earth. And this was Yahushua in one of his lifetimes, all right? So right here in the Old Testament, in the book of Proverbs, we're hearing about Yahushua as King Solomon, all right? It said, and you could look it up. You could Google these things, but King Solomon and King David, his father, prophesied about the Messiah, all right? It said in verse 1, chapter 1, verse 1, these are the Proverbs, so they're prophecies, proverb of Solomon, David's son, king of Israel. It says, their purpose is to teach people, those people are Israelites, wisdom and discipline. And discipline is applying yourself every day, diligently. It says to help them understand the insights of the wise, because it makes the foolish wise. All right, the wisdom of Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahushua, is greater than the wisdom of this world. That's why the people of this world don't know what the fuck is going on. But the wisdom that Yahweh gave us through Yahushua and the Holy Spirit, we're able to tell you what's going on. We could tell you exactly what's happening and why. We understand these things through the unction of the Holy Spirit. All right? It says, their purpose is to teach people, those are Israelites, to live disciplined and successful lives. Abba Bivens, he wrote a book, all right? And that's what he spoke about in his book, was the whole purpose was for the Israelites to learn the Bible, to become diligent and disciplined. All right? He teaches our fingers to war. All right? It says, to help them to do what is right, just, and fair. These proverbs, these prophecies, will give insight to the simple. See, so the simple, which were Israelites that were fools, because we lack knowledge, we have insight now. We're able to become wise through the Holy Spirit. All right? It says, these proverbs will give insight to the simple, knowledge and discernment to the young. So this is why you see young men all over the country telling, these other people that are of age, even educated in the institutions like Vocab Malone, all right, what the truth is, even though they're young and they haven't been educated in Esau's institutions. It's by a Holy Spirit. It's a spiritual phenomenon that was prophesied. All right, it says, let the wise listen to these proverbs and become even wiser. Let those with understanding receive guidance. See, this is a light to our path. The light has come into the world. It's Yahweh Shai. He is the way, our salvation. All right. It says, by exploring the meaning in these proverbs and parables, the words of the wise and their riddles. Fear Yahweh is the foundation of true knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. See? So the ones that are willing, blessed are the meek, blessed are the humble, all right, to be submitted to this truth, which, as it says, you have to pretty much submit yourself to exploring the meaning in these proverbs and parables, the words of the wise and their riddles, which is in these scriptures, because they're spoken of in a hidden form where you have to have the Holy Spirit to be able to put these scriptures together like a jigsaw puzzle. All right? And Esau he can't do that. That's why they watch our videos, because they're trying to get the understanding of what's going on. All right? And why it's happening, which the elite know. That's why they have witches, but on the right hand, we have a greater power than their left hand power. All right? So they literally have to come to us, and that's why Pharaoh, his sorcery failed against Moses and Aaron. Nebuchadnezzar, his witches and warlocks could not discern the dream, but Daniel was able to. All right? The three holy sons of Israel that were cast in the furnace had the power to withstand the flame by the wisdom of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. All right? So in these names, Yahweh Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shai, Yahweh means he is, Yahweh Shai means he delivers. And it's through prayer. We pray upon those names, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, the three holy children. How did they overcome the flames? It says they prayed, they rejoiced in the Lord, and there was a wet pocket that was created, a moist air that surrounded them. When you read the book of the prayer of Azariah in the Apocrypha, it talks about his prayer where he's praying in there. There's a bubble of air, a moist air that protected him from the flames, and it was because Yahweh Shai was with him. All right, so the same's for us. Even though we're about to go through the greatest time of violence ever to be lived through on earth, we have protection. We have a hedge. All right? Go ahead, Jacob.
Con. Revelation 13, chapter 13, verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. Verse 10.
So this ain't talking about just having ears. Every man has ears. It's talking about being able to understand what these scriptures are saying.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead.
Verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
So that's what we're witnessing. Esau is trying to take us into a new form of captivity, the implantable microchip. They're going into captivity. All right? That's a guarantee. Go ahead.
Con. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
Right? Which we know Esau was blessed with the sword, the so-called white race. All right? So right away we have wisdom of who is who. We are the Israelites. We're oppressed. We're the poor of this society. All right? But all we want is righteousness and live in peace. The wicked, they're ruling the world and they have a sword. And their blessing is the money of the earth. That's why their face is on it. And if you hear these small hats, all they have in their corner is money, that fiat currency. See, that's all they have for themselves. They don't have faith like the Israelites. That's why we were able to go through all these things and still have a hope of a greater future, because we were given faith as a gift. Esau was not given this. He was given money. That's his blessing. That's why you hear about Kushner and Trump, Nero 47's daughter Ivanka, and them buying an island and making a private island, all right, with a private military, so that protecting them so they could do it. All right? Because they have money. They got so much. They got money beyond your imagination. I can't remember what movie it was, but they were showing these Edomites and they were doing like a speed dating, and they met each other and they were talking about how they hated how rich they were. They were trying to hide that they were wealthy, and that the Bible says that. There's people that are rich that make themselves poor, and there's poor that they're rich but they are poor. All right, you got the rich acting like they're poor, but then you got the poor acting like they're rich, but they are rich, the poor. All right, because we have faith and they don't. So even though they have all this money, they're the poor because they don't have no faith. All they have is fiat currency, which is nothing. There's no value to it. It's really nothing. All right, but right now it has pull because people believe in it. And like, look at Trump's daughter buying an island with her husband, Trump, son-in-law, Kushner. All right, which we know what they do, Epstein Island. All right, the wicked rule the world. Who has the money to do these things? The devil, the Edomites. All right, but we want righteousness. We don't want wickedness. Go ahead.
Con. Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
Which is America. All right, the two horns represent the two parties, Republican and Democrat. So John, the Revelator, is prophesying through a vision that he's having of America back on the island of Patmos back over 2,000 years ago. All right, he's speaking about America coming into existence, and they had two horns like a lamb, two-party system, which they ruled the world. And it says, but they act like they're a lamb. Oh, we're here for the people. The people gave me the power, right? We're the peacekeepers of the world. But really, it says he spake as a dragon. I mean, what they say? We'll annihilate a whole race. All right? They're the devil. They're the sword that the Lord spoke of in the Bible. They're the wicked. All right? They drop bombs. They call down fire from heaven every day. You can look it up, how many missiles they drop a day. It's like 20,000 missiles a day. And those missiles are millions of dollars. We don't have money like that. All right, because they're the wicked. They rule the world. Through what? Through deceit. That money, that fiat currency, trillions of dollars, that's deceit. They can't even count up to 1 trillion. When you look it up, how long would it take you to count to 1 trillion? Really, these numbers don't exist. That's why they got to do it through digital ways. All right? All this is a goddamn lie, pretty much. How long? Let me see. Let me pull it up on my Google. How long would it take to count to 1 trillion? 31,000 years plus 710 more years. You see? So they're lying to you all the time. They're always lying to you. That's why 1 minute they're talking peace, next minute it's war. 1 minute it's peace, next minute it's war. Because they're confusing you. Because most people, they can't think. Because one, it wasn't given. And two, the system that was set up, all right, it's to keep you brain dead. It's hypnotism. That's why every day's the same, all right? And you go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep, wake up, because it's a continuous rhythm of hypnotism. Okay? Go ahead.
Yeah, and also it's a lot of confusion, you know. A lot of people, they can't think right, you know. They say,
No.
what is it?
Especially
you know,
with
there's no, fine or definite line, you know.
Yeah, and when they do it, they don't want that answer. Why? Because they're destroyed for the lack of knowledge. In the churches, they're not telling them that. The so-called white man is not telling them the truth, so they don't believe in the truth because it's not coming from a so-called white man. It's coming from a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American Indian, poor man, and it tells you in the scriptures, nobody respects the knowledge of a poor man. All right? If Trump called you Israelites, you'd believe it. You see? But because an Israelite is telling you are an Israelite, and we are the poor, no one respects it. You see? And it's designed like that. Because the Lord wants the humble, the meek, the ones that are willing. All right? The ones that are doing it now in the poverty, because when they get the wealth, it's already sure what they're going to do. All right? Because a friend has to be proven in adversity. So that's what's happening right now. The Lord is proving his elect in adversity. Who has the faith? He says when he comes back, shall he find faith? All right, and the faith is in persecution, oppression, poverty. Go ahead.
What about I think the Lord sometimes, well, it's not sometimes, he does. He gives you over to a reprobate mind, you know.
Well, the reprobate mind is for the 2/3. But what did Apostle Paul say about the reprobate mind? He said, 2 Corinthians 13, and I'm going to read it in the KJV. It says in verse 5, this is Apostle Paul's epistle, 2 Corinthians 13 and 5. Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Yahushua HaMashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. So to be a reprobate means you don't know the truth. You don't know Yahushua. See, so to have the truth, you can't be a reprobate. All right? So it says, but I trust that ye shall know that we are not reprobates. See, so we're not reprobates. We don't have a reprobate mind because we know Yahushua and Yahushua knows us. Yahweh called us. It says, now I pray to Yahweh through Yahushua that ye do no evil, not that we should appear approved, but that ye should do that which is honest, though we be as reprobates, though they see us as reprobates. We're not reprobates, but the world looks at us as reprobates because we're the poor. All right? This world thinks gain is godliness. When it says godliness with contentment is gain. See, John the Baptist was in the wilderness eating locusts and honey, and he was one of the highest ranked men in this truth, and he was like a homeless man, but he wasn't all dirty and raggedy like they show you like a caveman, because the Israelites have a superior intellect, you see, and it's because it's a gift from Yahweh through his son Yahweh Shai that we're greater than all these nations. All right, so John the Baptist was not walking around like a fucking caveman. All right, when he was teaching the truth, he was eating honey and locusts and living in the wilderness to avoid the corruption that was going on in the temple. That's a superior mind. That's not a low-level caveman base mind. You see? And that's what Jake has. Jake has a low-level thinking, and that's why Abraham even had to leave his father, because he was worshiping idols and making idols. Mm-hmm. That's low-level to think that an idol is going to protect you. A rotted piece of wood's going to save you. That's low-level base thinking. So Abraham, but he had to leave his father behind so that he could increase in wisdom. You see? And that's the truth. That's the truth. Like Yahweh Shai, for him to actually inherit all the authority, he had to lay his life down and be crucified, die and be resurrected. Now he sits at the right hand of the Father as a God. See? But to some, right, which have a reprobate mind, they'd say that's cursed to have to lay your life down and die. But this ain't a life that we have here. All right? Because we're in captivity. That's why really, if you understand what life is, all right, you really ain't even afraid to die, because really it doesn't end there. All right? It doesn't end at death. That's just a transition. All right? Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 12, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwelt therein to worship the first beast.
So what's he doing? He's operating like the Roman, like he was as a Roman. That's how he's moving right now with the sword. They're trying to conquer the world with the sword. Go ahead.
Whose deadly wound was healed. Revelation 13, verse 13. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
On the sight of men. I mean, in the sight of men, he calls down fire. He calls down these missiles. He's able to put a call in through the internet of things and get a missile launched to a whole different country. And he does this every day. I'll Google it right now. How many missiles does NATO shoot a day? Let's see. It says right here, it says industrial capacity, NATO defense planners model production requirements based on shooting hundreds to thousands of missiles per day in hypothetical full-scale major conflict. So they're prepared to shoot hundreds or thousands of missiles a day. And then they lying to the people saying, "Oh, we're at the end of our armory of missiles." They tell you they're low. Mm-hmm. They're lying. Everything they say is a lie. That's the art of war. That's why war is what? Camouflage. All right? Because everything is hidden. Everything is hidden. When you're fighting someone, you're trying to psych them out. Have them look over here when you hit them over here with this hand. So that's what war is. And this world is war because the wicked are ruling. When we go into the new world, all right, which Yahweh Shai is going to give us a new rejuvenated world, the same earth, but the wicked, their kingdom will be destroyed and the heathen will be enslaved under us, a new heaven and a new earth. All right? We won't learn war no more. The heathen won't learn war no more. We're going to live in a world of peace. But right now, in this world that we live in under the wicked, we're in a time of war. All right? You're always in war. Look at America's history. It's always been war because America's a big war machine. All right? So they got millions of nuclear warheads, but they're telling you, oh, Iran might have one. But with the same breath, they'll say, oh, we don't know if Israel got one. We can't talk about that. That's stupid. You see? But that's how dumb the people are today. They're so dumbed down, right, through all the different wickedness that Esau puts on us, whether it's poisonous food, poisonous educations, poison through their syringes, poison through their televisions, whatever they're doing, right? Poisoning the air, poisoning the well, poisoning the food, right? You got Jake so fucking dumbed down, they think every day's like a normal day. They're still thinking about college. They're still thinking about shit that really don't even fucking matter. It's all vain. King Solomon said that he had all the money in the world, all the power. If anybody could do it, he could do it. And he done it. And he said, really, all this shit is vanity. It doesn't mean nothing. See, and they're going to sell out for it. Because when they take that implantable microchip to worship the wicked, they're really selling out for nothing. You know, nothing. Go ahead, Jacob.
Con. Revelation 13, verse 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live.
Right, which was Rome. America is the reincarnation of Rome. Stephen Miller told you that. All right, which they said that's the handler of Trump, Nero 47. He takes his commands from the small hat Stephen Miller, which I like to call Lex Luthor. All right, and he said that America goes back to Rome and Athens, the Greeks and the Romans, which were Edomites. Mm-hmm. America is the reincarnation of Rome, the second leg of the vision that Nebuchadnezzar had of the different kingdoms that were to come after his own. And Rome had 2 legs and 10 toes. We are in the second leg, and Esau, the wicked, their kingdom, America, is the whore that rides the beast, the 10-horned, 7-head beast, the European Union, which together they have NATO. And I just read to you from Google, they supposedly have the power to shoot hundreds to thousands of missiles per day. So for years and years, all they've been doing was making missiles. Years and years of just rapidly making missiles. All right, and it doesn't take as long as they tell you. You can look it up for yourself. They could do it actually very fast. All right, they could produce thousands of missiles a month. All right, nuclear warheads. And they have the power to do it because they got the feria, the money, the fiat currency. All right? The cheese. All right? The greenbacks. They got the pull through the money. We don't have money like that. We don't have money to have factories that build nuclear weapons. We don't have that. We're the poor. We don't have bunkers. We don't have money to store up all kinds of food and water and all these different resources. All right? Shit, I'd be watching some of these preppers and they're talking about 10 years of tennis shoes. You know what I'm saying? You need tennis shoes, you need boots, you need sandals, you need house shoes, you know what I'm saying? It's insane what they think about storing up. Mm-hmm. Right? They say you need a plan A, a backup plan, plan B, and then a plan C and D, E. Right? How could you even live with all this on your mind? It's impossible. That's why they're bugging out. I mean, literally bugging out. They're bug outs, and they're bugging out because they're losing their shit up here. Because really, it's insane to think that you could do all this prep to be ready for everything that could possibly happen. It's not possible. That's why with us, we're liberated through Yahweh's Son, Yahweh Shai. All we got to do is believe on Yahweh and His Son, Yahweh Shai, and He's going to save us. That's what He promised us in the Scriptures. That's why we're all about the Scriptures. He said, call on me when you're in trouble, and I will save thee. And He was talking to the Israelites. The reprobates, they don't believe that. See, so they're going to be in the lake of fire because they're not going to call on Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. They're thinking their money's going to save them. They're calling on a false god like the other white meat, Caesar Borgia, who you know as Jesus Christ, a false god, which there's no power of salvation in there. Because it doesn't exist. Jesus Christ doesn't exist. It's not real. You see? Go ahead.
Yeah, but they when another point is that they're stuck in the flesh level, where the elect are on the spirit level.
Yeah.
You know,
Where the spirit is what? To judge all things. The world, they're just going with the flow of things. They're not examining themselves. They're not examining their situation. All right, and they're thinking their whole purpose is to hold a fucking job or to go to college. It's not. You were not created for this. You were created to serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And that's why all this shit is shutting down, because the only thing left to do is to serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And if you don't, you're going to go to get the chip. And you're going to be condemned by that. Woe unto them that go unto Egypt for help. They're going to tell you you need an implantable microchip in your hand or in your forehead. And you're condemned by that. We read it. You're going to be in the lake of fire. So fuck all that shit. Really, it's all vanity anyways. What the fuck you want? You know, you had that Jake on a game show, and they said, what do you hope is in heaven? Right? And in his mind, thinking through a Christian mindset, he said a job. Why would you hope that there's a job in heaven? Heaven, you know, you should be thinking of something completely different than holding a job in heaven. But that's a slave mentality.
Yeah.
You see? And that's what Yahweh wants us to be liberated from through Yahweh Shai. Not to be enslaved again by no man, not even ourselves. But, all right, Salakia. The camera stopped, and we're just going to continue. All right, I think it was the memory. I don't know why my memory should be clear. I just cleared it. And, you know, but the power of the air, Esau, all right, we know he fucks with these devices. These are weapons formed against us, but nothing shall prosper against us. For Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is with us. Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
See, so he's going to make it a law, which is already written. It's just going to be made public that if you don't accept that implantable microchip, you're to receive death. All right? Depopulation. All right? So that's why a lot of Jake are going to be willing, but once again, he's depopulating. So majority of these Jake out here are going to die in their unfaithfulness. You're going to have war in the streets. They just had a war zone here in America. Let me pull it up. And Jake, it tells you that the men are going to die of famine. The women, they're going to be left because their men are going to die in wars and famine. All right. So let me grab that real quick. It was from Dabu 7. And there's news reports on this. I was watching them. But there was a city in America. This is 6 hours ago. And it was like a war zone, they said. Copyright Act Section 107. Using this material, which is possibly copyright material for edification, edifying the Israelites. Okay. Copyright Act Section 107, using this material which possibly could be copyrighted for education for my people, the Israelites.
Flash. You should have seen it last night. Watch. From the Black Hawk helicopters to the loud firefight. It sounds more like a war zone in the Middle East, huh? But this is Northeast Pasadena.
There would be flashbangs, gunfire, like rapid gunfire. He didn't tell me that our places would be shaking. It was bad.
She's one of a dozen neighbors or so caught right in the crossfire of this. Listen.
All the lights in the hospital were lighting because they were shooting, and they could hear people in there screaming. Now, I don't know who was screaming. Maybe it's some kind of simulated thing that they had in there. I have no idea. And explosions. I saw explosions. Yeah, and it was just nuts.
So as you can see, people are very...
And it was in the middle of the night without being warned. They're saying it was a training, all right? But like you heard her say, there was people screaming in there. All right, which the sword is being sharpened. The Edomites, they're getting ready to come down with great wrath against the Israelites because they know they have but a short time. All right, so either way, they're getting ready, whether there were actual people in there that were a casualty or if it was just an act of training, all right, which really they put people to death in their practicing. They practice murder, all right? So I wouldn't doubt there was people in there and they were using them for crash dummies, crash test dummies. All right, that's how Esau works. Look at the movie Machines of Men, where they had robots and they just unleash them in a village out there in Asia just to see how good they are in battle, you know. So Esau does this to sharpen the sword. The sword is the so-called white man, which he develops weapons of mass destruction, because he is a weapon formed against us which will not prosper against the elect, but he is a weapon of mass destruction. All right, go ahead, Jacob.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads.
See, that is that implantable microchip, the mark of the beast. All right, go ahead.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name.
Which is in that chip. All right, that's why they're going to say they'll be able to put you to death if you don't have that chip. But if you accept that implantable microchip, that's going to mark you as property. All right, that's why you're going to be part of the beast system, belong to the beast man Edom, and you're going to be in the destruction of his kingdom. All right, go ahead.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man.
The so-called white man, Esau Edom, the wicked that ruled the world. Go ahead.
And his number is 666.
Which is that 666, which is Chi Xi stigma in the Greek alphabet, which goes into the cutting of your flesh with the syringe. They trench out skin so they can implant that microchip. All right. Go ahead.
That was it, wasn't it?
All right. This is Ecclesiastes 12, verse 9. I'll start at 8. It says, Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity. That's why when they take that chip, it's going to be in vanity. All this is vanity. It's going to be done away with. It says in verse 9, and moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heed and sought out and set in order many proverbs, which King Solomon did this. All right. And this is what Yahushua did. He taught proverbs, parables. All right. He taught in the synagogue. Every day it said. It says in verse 10, the preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. And that's what the hopeful elect have. We have the words of truth. The words of the wise are as goads, which are nails, and as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd, Yahweh's son, Yahweh Shai. And the godly word is like nails that hold a house together. All right? It says, and further, and that's why Esau's house is divided, because they don't have the truth. They stand on lies. Their whole fucking setup is a goddamn lie. From them being white, them being Christian, all right? Their whole thing is a fucking lie. Oh, they discovered America? That's a goddamn lie. All right? So it's all falling apart on them. It's imploding because there's no nails of truth in this house of Esau. It's all a house of cards. Right? He's always talking about they got the cards. Well, their house of cards is falling. It's a big bluff. And if you know what Trump's name means, it means a big fucking bluff. All right? It says, and further, by these, my son, be admonished. Of making many books, there is no end. Right? So you could write a book, but you could never put everything in one book. So you could write books forever. That's why really reading all these books, it could fuck you up in your head. All right? If you're not able to spit out the bones. It says, of making many books, there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. See, so we only have to worry about salvation, which requires us to be faithful unto Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, and to teach his men. It says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yahweh through his son Yahweh Shai, and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. Talking about an Israelite man. And right now we take heed to the commandment. The commandment is impossible for us to keep physically 100% in this captivity and in these bodies. Yahweh Shai was the Israelite, the Messiah that kept it perfect. All right? So that covers all of us Israelites in his sacrifice. But the 2/3 reject salvation. That's why they're going to be left here to die. It says in verse 14, for Yahweh, through his son Yahweh Shai, shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. And that's why when Yahweh Shai comes back, Revelation 22, he's going to give you the reward. It says in Revelation 22:10, and he saith unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. So we have the understanding because the seals have been broken. Yahweh Shai has broken them. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. And he which is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last, saith Yahweh Shai. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, which it tells you in Proverbs 11, the works of the righteous is a tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city, which you have to be an Israelite. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie, which will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. That's why 2/3 of the nation of Israel and America are going to be left here to die, because they loveth a lie. You're supposed to love the truth. Yahweh said we're to worship him through Yahweh Shai in spirit and in truth. You see? King Solomon was searching out truth. Yahweh Shai is the truth. See? So everything else is a goddamn lie. It's all vanity. All right? Jesus Christ is a goddamn lie. It's a vanity, nothing. There's no value in it. There's no power. There's no future. You see? Even the past is a lie, which they teach you. But there's no future for these goddamn lies because Yahweh Shai is coming back. And he's going to burn up all these lies with all the liars that love that lie. All right? That's literally what a reprobate mind is. Let's get that real quick. Biblical, let me see. Define biblically a reprobate mind. It says, I'll let it speak it.
Biblically, a reprobate mind describes a state of moral corruption. It happens when someone's conscience becomes dulled by repeatedly rejecting God, making them unable to tell right from wrong. This is a result of God allowing people to follow their own sinful desires.
See? And it says he'll give you over to a vain imagination. He gave them over to the reprobate minds, KJV. Romans 1 verse 28
he gave them over to a reprobate
says in
mind.
Romans 1 verse 28, and even as they did not like to retain Yahweh in their knowledge through Yahweh Shai, Yahweh gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whispers, backbiters, haters of Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents. The parents is talking about the leadership. Without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. You see? So that's why, they even got that saying in Christianity, hate the sin and not the sinner, but it tells you right here, but have pleasure in them that do them. So really, if you love the wicked, right, you praise the wicked, you break the law. The thing is with the Israelites have mercy until there is no more mercy, which Yahweh Shai is going to cause the mercy to end by these prophecies. We're not going to be able to prophesy like we are on the internet. So mercy is going to be taken from the reprobate Israelites, and they're going to die without mercy, just like a heathen. Because they were showing mercy, but they don't want no mercy. This is the mercy that was given us, being able to know that we are Israelites and we have salvation through Yahweh's Son, Yahweh Shai. 2 Corinthians 4, verse 1. Therefore, seeing we have this ministry, as we have received mercy, we faint not. So this truth is our mercy that we received. That we are Israelites, our God is Yahweh, our Heavenly Father, the power of Israel, and He gave us a way out, Yahweh Shai. All right, so that's really what the truth is. That's what the reprobate mind is, that they don't have that truth, that Yahweh Shai is our Savior. All right, but what did Apostle Paul say? Examine yourselves every day. Are you in this faith, believing that Yahweh is giving us a way out through Yahweh Shai? Well, if that was the case, if you believe that, you would be preparing your mind. That's 1 John 3. It says in verse 1, Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us through his Son Yahweh Shai, that we should be called the sons of Yahweh. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. See, they're thinking about Jesus Christ, which is a goddamn lie. And we're telling the truth. They don't know the truth, Yahweh Shai, so they can't see it. It says in verse 2, Beloved, now are we the sons of Yahweh through Yahweh Shai, and it does not yet appear what we shall be, because we're rich, we're powerful people. Starting with the elect, we're richer than you could imagine. The earth is ours, the heathen are ours, the universe is ours. All right? But it doesn't appear that way yet, but it will when Yahweh sends his son Yahweh Shai back to set things back in order. It says, but we know that through a sure word of prophecy, when he shall appear, we shall be like him. We're going to be changed, given new bodies that do not sin, that do not die. For we shall see him as he is. It says in verse 3, and every man, Israelite man, that had this hope in him, purifieth himself, even as he is pure. And them that are pure in heart shall see power. Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. The purity is being in this truth and having no lie. See, that's why it says in Revelation 14 and 5. This is talking about the elect. It says, verse 4, these are they which were not defiled with women, false doctrines, for they are virgins. These are they which followed the Lamb, Yahweh Shai, whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, these are Israelite men, being the first fruits unto Yahweh and to the Lamb. It says in verse 5, and in their mouth was found no guile, no lie, for they are without fault before the throne of Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai. All right, it's because we have the truth. We know Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai because they know us. All right, one more. It tells you that the only way that you know Yahweh and Yahweh Shai is that they allow it. Only the Father knows the Son, KJV. It says in Matthew 11, verse 27, Yahweh Shai is speaking, all things are delivered unto me of my Father. So Yahweh Shai had the power to do miracles because the Father gave him the power. He made him the Messiah, the anointed one. And no man knoweth the Son, Yahweh Shai, but the Father. That's why Yahweh Shai told Peter, who do you say I am? And he said, you are the Son of the living power, Yahweh. And he said, well, only the Father knows this, and he let you know it. See? So us to know Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai is a very powerful thing. All right? It says, and no man knoweth the Son, but the Father. Neither knoweth any man the Father, save the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him. See, and so he's revealing him to the elect of Israel. That's why we have the truth, and the rest of Israel does not. All right? Go ahead, Jacob.
I got Romans 1, verse 25 through 28, unless you want some more before that. But Romans 1 verse 25 reads, who changed the truth of power into a lie and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever.
Right, and who created this earth? Yahweh Shai. It wasn't Yahweh. Yahweh's power was given to Yahweh Shai, and he created the earth. That's, let me just grab this real quick since you read that part. Mm-hmm. John 1 verse 1. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Yahweh, and the Word was a God. The same was in the beginning with Elohim, which are gods. Yahweh is the Almighty. Yahweh Shai, which was a God, was the Word made flesh. He became a man, an Israelite man, which he was crucified, died, and resurrected. He was in the beginning, and he created heaven and earth with the Elohim, the elect. That's why everything's starting over again. We're at the new beginning of a new heaven and a new earth. All right? Everything's going to be made new. All right, go ahead.
Romans 1 verse 26 reads, "For this cause power gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature."
Which they're sodomites. They're women on women instead of being with a man. All right, they completely lost the purpose of a woman. The whole purpose of us being alive was to worship Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, and to have kids. That's the whole purpose of life, was to have children and to teach those children to worship Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai.
To multiply.
Right, and to multiply righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's what Israel forgot. They think their life is to have a job. They think they were born to pay bills. They were born in slavery. They've never been off the plantation. All right, but really our life is worth more than a job, worth more than fiat currency, worth more than this goddamn lie. The whole setup is a goddamn lie. Right? Now they tell you that a woman don't need a man. Woman is like man. Woman is over man, right? Which is a goddamn lie. It's all. That's why it says to have that reprobate mind is to believe in a lie. All right, go ahead.
Romans 1 verse 27, "And likewise also the men, leaving their natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet."
Which Jennifer Lopez, they just came out that she has a transformer child. It's an adult, but her offspring is a transformer. The daughter thinks it could be a boy, right? And that's how Israel thinks. Why? Because they're being under the wicked. They're taught lies and they believe these lies. All right, they really believe this shit. They really believe in Jesus Christ. They really believe that a girl could be a boy and a boy could be a girl. They believe this shit. That's why they're given up to that reprobate mind. The 2/3 are given over to the reprobate mind, but the elect were given over to wisdom. The hopeful elect have wisdom. That's why in Isaiah 33, let me grab that one verse real quick. Isaiah 33 and 5. See? So the reprobates are doing reprobate shit. Like Jennifer Lopez, glorifying her transformer. All right? That's a reprobate. Isaiah 33 and 5. It says, "Yahweh is exalted, for he dwelleth on high. He hath filled Zion with judgment and righteousness, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and the strength of salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure." And where your heart is, that's where your treasure is. All right, really, that's your purpose, where your mind is. All right, and really, we're supposed to be in the wisdom and knowledge, in the judgment and righteousness of Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, which is with Zion, the Israelites. It's not with any other nation. All right, that's why they got to give you false philosophies like psychology. All right, which is nothing but theory. All right, go ahead.
Let's go back to that one there. Had that one you were doing on living a lie. I was thinking of living a lie is delusional,
Yeah.
But let me see here. I think right here. Says Romans chapter 1 verse 28, "And even as they did not like to retain power in their knowledge, power gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient."
Right. So he gave the 2/3 over. That's why they're going to take the chip. That's a reprobate mind to think that that chip's going to save your life. See, how is this chip going to save your life when your phone fucks up?
Mm-hmm.
Your phone fucks up all the time. You know how many phones I've went through myself in this truth? More years than I've been in the truth. Because this technology is garbage. and you're going to allow them to put it inside you? That's why you're going to get the cancer and get sores all over your body.
Boils or something.
Yeah, grievous. Boils, right. Blisters. A plague. All right? And then eventually the nuclear fire, which is the final plague. All right? And that's when Yahweh sends the curse over the earth, talking about Yahweh Shai being on a chariot. He's coming to save the elect, but at the same move, he's bringing judgment on the unfaithful and the wicked that do wickedly. All right? Which, once again, to believe a lie is a wicked thing. All right? Especially as a man, because you're supposed to know the truth. That's the whole point of being a man. You're supposed to know. It says not to be a fool, but to be circumspect. Let me pull that up. Be circumspect, KJV. It says in Ephesians 5 verse 15, see then that ye walk circumspectly, meaning looking into all things, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. But see, the reprobates, they don't think about it. They think it's going to be like it's always been. You see, that's why they're still thinking about college. They're still trying to join the military. They're still thinking about all this bullshit. You got Jake still gangbanging in 2026. Grown-ass men still fucking killing each other over a piece of land that ain't even theirs. A piece of property that they can't even buy a house in. They're killing each other over. For money, fiat currency that they're going to go to digital and that shit's going to be worth nothing. See, you got Jake killing each other over that shit. You got Jake signing up to go to war in a war that they're not going to come back from. All right? Because there's weapons in this generation that were not used back in the past, like nuclear warheads. All right? They're not coming back. All right? Because the chariots of heaven are going to burn them up over there in the valley of slaughter. See? They're telling you, shit, they put it in the news that this was a, what they called a religious war. The War of Armageddon. Hagseth said this is the War of Armageddon, the war that brings the Messiah. It says, let me pull up the news article. It says Pete Hegseth's Christian rhetoric. U.S. troops were told Iran war is for Armageddon, the mountain of troops that Yahweh Shai is going to dissolve. But see, Jake don't look into these things. They don't want to know. They don't want to know what's in the Bible. They're too busy worrying about bullshit. You see? And that's why they're going to die. And when they die in that lake of fire, being that they were chipped, they're going to say, why didn't I listen? Because they're going to have a flashback of their lives and they're going to remember they came across a prophet. Whether they walked across the camp, they watched the video, and they didn't believe. And they said, that's a lie. They don't know what they're saying. They're poor brown men like me. They're poor black men like me. Mm-hmm. They're so-called minorities. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But you're going to know we did because what we're telling you is coming to pass. Just as everything else. All right? Like this war with Iran. It's a prophecy. 2nd Ezra 16. 2nd Ezra 15. All right? It prophesied that these Iranians are going to remember themselves and they're going to come out violently against these Babylonian Edomites. All right? And they're telling you they want nuclear destruction for Babylon. And they're allies with Russia and China. And now NATO, they hate America and they're starting to turn to Russia and China. Mm-hmm. The UN, they're starting to, they voted to stop the war in Iran. But then America and Israel are teaming up, which we knew they were. We told you they were. But now, all of a sudden you believe because it's in the news, the white man tells you, Esau Edom, America and Israel are teaming up. We've been telling you that. We told you that the prophecy said the least of the flock, the small hats, are going to lead the Americans into destruction through war. All right? We've been telling you, we have a sure word of prophecy, and you would do well if you took heed, if you're an Israelite that has faith. Otherwise, you're a reprobate, and you're going to die here. All right? That's the two lots. You're either of the elect, the remnant, or you're a reprobate. You see, and you don't know what's going on. You don't care to know, and you're going to die in your unfaithfulness. The elect, it says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. To know. If you really fear the Lord, you want to know what's going on. How is it going to happen? What can you do as an Israelite to please Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, hoping for salvation? You see, and Apostle R even pointed out, you know, you got these men that know about the destruction, even though they fall out the truth, they never believe. That's why they don't move out the country. Because they don't believe. See? But the elect, we're here prophesying, and we believe in Yahweh saving us through Yahweh Shai. But she's going to change us in the blink of an eye. Right at when you see those nuclear missiles flying, that's when we're going to be changed. We're going to see the flames. Them that endure into the end. It's going to be to the very end, literally, at the last minute, at the last second. That's how Jacob comes at the end. Boom. And we're going to be victorious through Yahweh's Son, Yahweh Shai. And we're going to get new bodies. And we're going to rule over the heathen. And we're going to bring back our race through procreation. All right? You got something?
Romans 1, verse 29, I'll read on a little bit there. Being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers.
Right, which I read earlier, but it goes into being like a heathen. All right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not submitting to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. You want to be like a heathen. See? And be disobedient, so that's why you're going to die. Go ahead.
Romans chapter 1, verse 30 reads, backbiters, haters of power, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents.
Which is not talking about your dad or your mom. It's talking about the leaders of the truth. Yahweh set up the apostles, and you're supposed to obey the apostles. All right, go ahead.
Verse 31 reads, Romans chapter 1, verse 31.
And you're supposed to obey them in the truth. All right? Mm-hmm. Every man is a prince, which will be a king. So really, you determine how you want to live. That's why even in the meat, it said some men like to only eat vegetables, some men like meat. But really, that's up to you. Now, when it comes to the Passover, you got to eat the lamb. Mm-hmm. All right? But if you want to be a vegetarian your whole rest of the year, that's your business. But you're not supposed to put that on another man and say he's wicked because he eats meat. Mm-hmm. All right? Those are man-made traditions. Really, we have a standard set by Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, which is right and what is wrong. And no man could add or take away, but we all live according to this, what is right and what is wrong. Like being a sodomite, that's wrong. Mm-hmm. Right? No matter how you do it. Whether it's you're sodomizing a man or a woman. You're not supposed to do either one of those acts. See? So, in that way, you avoid. All right? But now what you do with your wife in your bed, that's your business. If you have more than one wife, that's your business. We don't want to know that shit. All right? That's your business. That's however you deal with your house, that's your business. But now, there's certain laws that we got to obey even though we're in captivity. Once again, like not being a sodomite. You're not supposed to be a sodomite. All right? You're not supposed to commit adultery. You're not supposed to lay with another man's wife, whether it's an Israelite or a heathen. All right? That's a law that we still keep in this captivity. You still could keep in a form because, you know, it says if you marry a woman that already had a husband, you commit the act of adultery. But us actually staying away from another man's wife, we keep the law of not committing adultery, even though we're in captivity and we're in these sinful bodies. All right? Why? Because Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai brought us back to remembrance of who we are. And he gave the righteous commandments to the Israelites, our forefathers, which were in sinful bodies. That's the first covenant. That's why we need our Savior. And there was given us a Savior, the Messiah, Yahushai. The second covenant, which we have access through Yahushai, is us having the righteous laws with righteous bodies that do not sin. All right, but right now in the first covenant is a sinful body with righteous laws that we could not keep completely. All right, go ahead.
Romans 1, verse 31, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful.
And what does it say? Without understanding. You're supposed to understand. It says, above all, get understanding. That's the whole purpose of a man's life. You're supposed to understand everything. All right? But Jake don't understand. They're busy chasing lies. Worrying about fucking lies. That's why they gave you black entertainment. That's why you got this hip hop, which is nothing but a fucking lie. All right? At the same time, you got the truth. You got rap to teach you a lie. They put these images of Jake that are sodomites and make you think they're tough when they're not. They're sodomites and trick photography. You see, the TV, right? When did the TV come out? During the Depression. You had the movies and all these things invented to distract you from the truth. That's what they use it for, is a distraction. Why do you think they're doing a UFC fight in the White House? Mm-hmm. Even they had a video of The Rock saying, I don't want to be part of this shit. It's a fucking lie. It's one big fucking lie. He said that. You see? It's all a fucking lie. Once again, from them discovering America to them being so-called white and us being so-called black, all right? They lie about everything, all right? White supremacy is a fucking lie. If that was the case, why do they gotta write laws to protect their supremacy? They're so fucking superior, right? Why do they need the gun or the fucking dog trained to kill if they're superior? Why can't you just hand-to-hand combat? But Jake can. I've seen it. I've seen Jake fucking handle multiple men at one time, knocking them out. You know? But why can't Esau do that? Why does he need a gun? Right? Why does he build bunkers if he's superior? You see, because he's not. It's a fucking lie. All right? Go ahead, you
John. Romans chapter 1, verse 32, who knowing the judgment of power, that they which commit such things are worthy of death.
See? So lacking understanding, lacking the understanding of what's right and wrong, you deserve death. All right? But the Lord has given you the answer. That's the thing. That's why really when the 2/3 reprobate are in the lake of fire, they're going to realize the answer was being given to them. Mm-hmm. He gave you the way out, Yahushai. He gave you the prophets to tell you. But it was you and your hard head, right, stiff neck, believing a lie that said, nah, that's not true. And that's why you're going to die, because you believed a lie. Instead of doing the research, read the Bible. It tells you clearly what Yahushua looked like. It tells you where the Israelites would be in the last days, scattered throughout the whole earth to the uttermost parts. And we would remember ourselves and begin to prophesy. Where are the other people prophesying? Where are the other nations? Where are the small hat prophets? Where are the Christian prophets? Shit, they're telling you the Christians had a meeting with the small hats and they were told to tell you a lie. They openly say it. Christians, pastors told to lie about so-called UFOs. It says, claims that pastors were instructed to lie about UFOs. Who told them? The small hats. They had a meeting. See? And you're going to believe that there's fucking gray aliens? There's reptilians? Come on, man. And what it is you don't know the truth. You read the Bible and it says that there was a serpent and you think a reptilian. You read Nephilim and you think giant, like a fallen angel. Because you're not understanding the scriptures. All right? Because it's written in a way only the elect could understand through a spirit, a Holy Spirit. We have an unction from on high, and you're supposed to believe us. That's why Yahweh Shai prayed for the prophets and the ones that would believe us. All right? Go ahead. Talking about the Israelites. The heathen don't fucking matter. You don't fucking matter. If you read the Bible, Isaiah 40, the heathen are nothing. So fuck you, heathen. All right? You, your women, your children. Fuck all of your whole fucking race. All right?
Not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them.
See? So the pleasure in seeing the other Israelites sin. See? So you got these Israelites that once call upon Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, and then they start teaching you a lie like Jesus Christ. See, they're all going to die. If they don't repent, they're all going to die. But why were they given over to that reprobate mind? Because the Lord ain't with them. He don't care about them. Because they don't care about him or his son. All right? They care about money. They care about their education in this wicked ass world. They care about their woman having a job and becoming superior, so-called, through education or through money, right? Because a lot of times these women make more money than men. The women, they're given better credit scores than men. They have better opportunities in this wicked ass society over the men. Shit, you got men that pimp their own wives on internet. You see these bitches shaking their ass and eating bananas all funny. But who the fuck is recording that video trying to make money? Is the husband pimping his wife. See? So there's a lot of Israelites that are going to die. All right? Because one of those abominations the Lord don't want you to commit is whoremongering. Selling women as prostitutes. And that's what you're doing if you're holding a video watching your wife dress sexy and dance or whatever the fuck for everybody else to enjoy. You're a whoremonger. All right? Prostitution didn't go back to sex. It actually started with just putting them on a pedestal. You see, just putting them in front of the world's eye, that's a fucking abomination. You got a lot of Jake that are happy to see their women in college, happy to see their woman in a workforce, happy to see their woman making more money than them. That's a fucking abomination. That's a reprobate mind. We're to be thinking of us ruling over our women, us being in a position of power. You see? You got one?
James 1, chapter 1, verse 22 through 24, ESV reads, "But he doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves."
Right. So be not only here. Go one verse back.
Okay, let me go to. I'll go to the regular one that I use, James 1:22. Okay, let me see here. Go to James. There, James chapter 1, verse 22. Okay, it reads. You said go up back one, so it reads. James chapter 1, verse 21. "Wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls."
See, so lay all the bullshit aside and read this Bible, trying to understand it. All right? Go ahead.
James 1, verse 22. "But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves."
See, so you got to apply this in your own life. Once again, you shall not commit adultery. Thou shalt not lie. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not murder. Right? It says that. If you teach not to steal, do you steal? If you tell them not to lie, do you lie? You see? So you're supposed to examine yourself first, whether you be in the faith or not. Yahweh Shai said, pull the stick out of your own eye before you try to pull the stick out of your brother's eye. See? So you got to examine yourself, whether you be in the right mindset, all right? And then that's when you correct it through Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai. Correction is the way of life. And what? Then you go out and teach. All right? Otherwise, you're teaching a lie. And you're going to die for teaching a lie. Literally, we read it. You will be left here for not understanding the truth. You will die as a reprobate. The truth is Yahweh Shai. He's in the scripture throughout from the beginning to the end. From Genesis to Revelation, and in the Apocrypha, it speaks about him. All right, go ahead.
James chapter 1 verse 23 reads, for if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass.
Right, in the mirror. Right, you look at yourself, you know yourself. This is what I look like, okay? Go ahead.
James 1 verse 24, for he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was.
Right, you got Israelites that they may show up to camp, they may even do videos once in a while, but really they don't understand what they're involved in. Just like a man that looks in the mirror in the morning but forgets what he looks like because he's been at work all day. What do you look like? I don't know. You know, because you only looked at yourself the one time in the mirror. Mm-hmm. But someone that is looking at themselves constantly in the mirror, they know exactly what they look like. Well, that's how you're supposed to be in the scripture. You're supposed to be examining yourself in these scriptures all day, every day. You see, you're supposed to understand you're an Israelite all day, every day. Now, we don't need to wear fringes to work, all right? But you're supposed to be an Israelite all day, every day in here. All right? And you're supposed to understand Clark Kent. Meaning you don't have to tell everybody the truth when you're out in the public. That's why we do these videos. All right? But once again, you're supposed to be an Israelite through and through. You're not supposed to be an Israelite one day or 1 hour and then the rest of your week you're a fucking reprobate. You see? Really, you're supposed to be in this word day and night. It says that. Where your heart is, that is where your treasure is. And if someone had a lot of money, guess what? They'd always be in that money. They'd be counting it. They'd be spending it. They'd be looking, oh, how much money I got. But guess what? If you're in this truth, this is the real money. This is the real treasure. And you should be in it all day, every day, counting it. Looking, it's supposed to be like a woman. It tells you it's like a sexy woman. If you had a beautiful, sexy woman, a woman of your dream, you'd want to be with her 24/7 all day long. You'd want to eat with her. You'd want to shower with her. You'd want to do all kinds of things with her. But that's how these scriptures are supposed to be. You're supposed to want to be with them all the time. It's supposed to be like a as they say, a lust. But it'd be a righteous lust. It wouldn't be a wicked lust. All right? You're supposed to want this truth. It says like a baby, you're supposed to start like a baby that wants the breast milk, where it cries for it. What does it want? The sincere milk of the truth. That's what you're supposed to want. And then you're weaned, and you're supposed to search it out for yourself. Go look up the truth. Read this Bible. All right? Take the time. Read every book. Look up the words. The Bible wasn't written in English. It goes back to Hebrew, Greek, and even Latin. All right? You could go into these words and get a better understanding. I've been picking up 2 languages that I study every morning next to this Bible in a different language. And it helps understand even deeper because English is a modern bastard language. So when you go back to older languages, it helps you understand more, right? I'll give you an example. All right, Philippians 4:13. Right here, it says in Philippians 4:13, which is a famous verse. It says, I can do all things through Hamashiach, which strengtheneth me. Now, when you go into the Cebuano, which is a Filipino dialect, they have a Cebuano Bible. All right? And when you look up these verses, it tells you the meaning, but it kind of puts it in a different way where you're able to get more understanding. So it says, Philippians 4, and I believe it was 13. It says, I'm going to just read the English translation. It says, I can do everything through him who gives me strength. See, the strengthened me means Yahweh gave you life, gave you the strength. You have a purpose. You're not just here by accident. Look at all the detail. Look at all the detail that goes into this creation. And you're telling me, oh, your life is an accident? No, you're either here for salvation or judgment. That's your purpose. And your purpose is where your heart is. And where your heart is, that's your treasure. See? So, Yahweh is the one that gave us the strength through Yahweh Shai to actually believe. So, through him, we are able to do all these things. See? But them that don't believe, they think the world strengthens them. That's why they're going to hope in that chip to save them. Which is a lie, and they're going to die believing a lie. But they were told the truth. We told them the truth. There's many prophets that are here of Israel that are telling the truth. Go ahead.
James 1 verse 25 reads, but whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deeds.
Blessed in his deeds, meaning that you understand that Yahweh Shai bought you with his precious blood. So you don't have the liberty just to go do whatever the fuck you want. You were bought with a price, the precious blood of Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach. So you're supposed to lay your life down for his purpose now. See? And he told you his purpose, because we're no longer just servants, we're sons. We're adopted in through Yahweh Shai's sacrifice. Yahweh is our Father, and he's telling us as sons what his plans are. He's not telling the Edomite because they're just servants. They serve Yahweh as the sword. They don't know his purpose, what he intends. That's why they don't understand how their kingdom is going to be destroyed, because they're only servants. All right? But his sons, the anointed of the nation of Israel, the hopeful elect, they understand because he gave us our purpose. All right? Go ahead, Jacob. Is that it?
That was it.
All right. With that, we give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Ha-Rakak Kodash. Double honors to our apostle elders, which rule Great Millstone Well. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. Wa abba babal.
Shalom to the elect.
Come, shalom to the